The merge update for Ethereum will happen in less than 3 months, but do you think that will solve the scalability problem? You're wrong, it won't. You still have to pay high gas fee and it takes a lot of time. It just changed from proof of work to proof of stake. Nothing else. And if you know, sharding will happen around 2023, so still there's a time to solve the scalability problem. What is the solution at the moment? The layer 2 Ethereum. If you don't know anything about layer 2 or about Ethereum, we just have so many posts explaining what is Ethereum, what is layer 2, and what is the update about Splurge, Verge, and so many other things. But in this video, we will explain why do we need the layer 2 on Ethereum at the moment, and what are the choices, and like what are the talking in details. So make sure follow with us, like, subscribe, and press the bell notification. Hey folks, this is Nima from MB.Cryptocurrency, and this video will be a little bit hard to understand. We're going to use some technical terms. Don't panic, we will explain everything in simple words as much as possible. Even if you have any question, make sure to write down in the comment section. We'll provide more details if you guys need to understand. We can even explain a little bit more. But generally the layer 2 solution, scalability solution on Ethereum can be divided into 5 categories. We will explain one by one with even a little bit of details and examples. So without any further ado, let's jump into the first one. So the first one that we're going to explain is about rollups. Rollups can be, divided into 2 parts, which is about optimistic rollup or zero knowledge rollups or ZK-rollups. I will explain what are the difference and what's happening with each one of them. So the first one, optimistic rollup, as its name saying, it's optimistic. So if there's any transaction happen, they take it as a good fate that whatever happens is actually true unless it's proven incorrect or fraudulent. That's why it runs by the fraud proof. When the transaction happened, the aggregator send a transaction to the Ethereum, which takes around 1 or 2 weeks challenge period. In this challenge period, people can provide a detail and say, hey, this transaction was not actually true. And if this happens, and if they find out that actually that was fraudulent, your money that you put gets slashed. And that's why when you do any transaction from optimistic, send it to Ethereum, you might sometimes have, depends on the price of Ethereum, $60, $70. That doesn't mean it is a gas fee. No, it's kind of like as your money that you're putting to make sure, hey, I promise that this transaction is actually correct. And if not, the money will get slashed. So that's the reason about when you want to work with it, you might have to pay around $60, $70, but it's not a gas fee. So that's what about fraud proof that they're using. The term that we use for optimistic is fraud proof. If you know about it, it runs parallel to Ethereum mainnet. That doesn't mean that it runs exactly on a minute. It's like parallel. It just sends the transaction as a batch to Ethereum, and that's why it is scalability is just huge until like 10 to 100,000 times faster than Ethereum, and the gas fee is much lower than Ethereum. All right, so the second type of rollup, it's zero knowledge rollup, which uses zero knowledge proof or validity proof in this case. The thing is, for zero knowledge proof, they do the computational thing, so they're solving the transaction, and they make it really simple and then transfer it to the Ethereum mainnet. The difference with optimistic, it just without doing any computational thing, they just send it the bare minimum amount of information needed to Ethereum. That's why zero knowledge proof, it might be a little bit faster and reduce gas fee a lot, because they don't trust you. They're just gonna check whatever transaction happened is correct first. That's why it works as a validity proof. Then they send it to Ethereum mainnet, and both of them using the Ethereum mainnet security. So they both are pretty secure, but depends on the use case that you want to use. Optimistic, you can use the EVM or even Solidity. They are Solidity compatible, but zero knowledge proof are really limited about in this sort of case, about the smart contracts or these sort of things. But zero knowledge proof is just much more faster. As I said, the optimistic, it takes 1 or 2 weeks in order to send the transaction, from the optimistic, projects and then to the Ethereum. But zero knowledge proof, zero knowledge rollups can do much more faster than this, sometimes like 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and the gas fee is still much more lower. Okay, so first one was a rollup, and second one that I'm gonna explain is about state channel. This has really specific usage, doesn't really like consider using every time, as in order to use it, the people that they're gonna get into the state channel has to be known before getting into it, because they have to sign it with their private keys in order to enter this small contract in order to do the transaction. Let me make it simple. Imagine you and 4 other friends that you have that are well known, gonna do a lot of transaction. If you want to do it on the Ethereum mainnet, a lot of gas fees you have to pay, and it takes a lot of time. Sometimes, you know, you have to wait in order the transaction happens, sometimes 10 minutes, depends on what's happening with the Ethereum mainnet. Imagine all of you getting into a contract, you lock up your Ethereum, for example, you say, here, I'm gonna put 1,000, say I'm gonna put 1,000, each one of you gonna put 1,000, for example, Ethereum. Imagine, $1,000 Ethereum, you guys rich. Imagine this happens, and you get into a smart contract, you lock your Ethereum and do as many transactions happen. The more, the better, because it's more cost efficient. At the end, the state channel will see who has what amount of Ethereum. For example, you have 300 and other of your friend has like 1,700. After doing like 1,000 transactions, they say, hey, this is considered as a one transaction from like 700 Ethereum to you, to your friend. So all in all will happen in one transaction. And as you see, the cost of thing as of like 1,000 transaction, it's only one fee. For example, $20 or $10, depends on the price of Ethereum and the gas fee. So as you see, this is how useful it can be. Really specific, but this is really useful sometimes. The problem is you have to lock your Ethereum in order to get into a state channel. And, you know, it is good, like if you want to do like 10 transaction, it's not really useful. If you want to do like 1,000, 10,000 transaction, it's really useful. The people that are getting to a state channel, they have to be known. They have to sign a contract with the private keys that, hey, I'm gonna enter to this state channel and I'm gonna lock my Ethereum. So this is generally pros and cons about state channel. So far we explained about rollups, state channel. The third one that we're gonna explain is about sidechain. It is really simple. It is like Ethereum, but they're running another consensus mechanism. For example, Polygon. It is a sidechain, but Polygon, they have to plan to go in everything. ZK-rollups, optimistic, they already have sidechain, they have so many plans, but imagine what's happening at the moment. Polygon, which is a token, is Matic, is a sidechain. It is exactly like Ethereum, but it's like proof of stake, right? It is less decentralized because the amount of node that working is not as much as Ethereum at the moment. So that makes it faster, right? But the security is a question because they have their own consensus mechanism. The security is on their own and they're not working on kind of like parallel to Ethereum mainnet as a rollups and state channel they're running. This one doesn't, so that's why security is kind of the problem, but they're much more faster as in using their own consensus mechanism, and they are less decentralized. So the fourth category that we're going to speak about is plasma chain, or they call it child chain. The reason that they calling it child chain is kind of smaller part of the Ethereum, like a small part of the Ethereum, and then they do the transaction in the plasma chain and they send it to the mainnets by the fraudulent proof, by the fraud proof. Do you know which one was a fraud proof? That was optimistic rollups. If you couldn't answer it correctly, you better watch the video from beginning or just write down, follow with me, whatever that I'm saying. So that would work as a kind of like smart contract, customizable smart contract that work as a singular way. I know it might be confusing, but thinking as this way. Imagine you want to do swap token, which is like a really basic stuff. That's like a singular way. That work as a plasma chain as well, kind of bringing load from Ethereum mainnet to work as a child chain and then sending back to the fraud proof. As you know, sometimes it takes a week or 2 weeks as a challenge period, right? So that's basically about pros and cons, which, you know, some of the program, you know, have to kind of save all of this data, and it takes like a week or 2 weeks as a challenge period, depends on projects. And it's a good way to do like really simple transaction, but it cannot really get complex as it's like kind of copy smaller copy of Ethereum, and they're doing like basic stuff as like really customizable smart contracts. So the final category is about Validium. It's really similar to ZK-rollups, but the thing is, on ZK-rollup, transactions will be saved, the data would save on chain. The Validium, everything's off chain. That makes it a little bit risky as it's not really connected, working parallel to Ethereum mainnets, but that makes it a lot more faster than ZK-rollup as the data doesn't need to store on chain. It's everything off chain, everything similar as with ZK-rollups. They cannot run Solidity, or they're not even compatible. All of these smart contracts, it's much more harder in order to run in ZK-rollups, or even like anything that works with zero knowledge proof. And so that's generally it about it. So make sure watch this video as many times as requires in order to learn about all of this basic about layer 2. They are really hard to understand. I try to give example as much as possible to each one of them. But the thing is, there's not only one way to see stuff. For example, as I explained, one of them with Polygon, it's not only they're working with the sidechain, they're working with many other ways of working with scalability to solve the scalability problem with Ethereum as a layer 2 project. So again, if you enjoyed this, if you learned something today, make sure like, subscribe. That really mean to us. So we're gonna work harder in order to make sure we provide information that's gonna help you in order to investment, in order to learn about fundamental of every project. And if you have any suggestion, write down in the comment section. We'll appreciate you.